Hello, welcome to Story Starters. My name is Miss Kayla, the children's librarian at the Dubuque County Library. Today, the book I've got with me is called Homerooms and Hall Passes by Tom O'Donnell. I'm going to read from the first chapter, and you can settle in at home and listen. Homerooms and Hall Passes. Chapter 1. Welcome to Homerooms and Hall Passes, the role-playing game of non-adventure. With this book and a set of dice, you and your friends will unlock a strange new world of routine and boredom set in the fictional realm of suburbia. Imagine, if you will, a place without monsters, magic, treasure, elves, quests, or even, to be perfectly honest, much excitement at all. This place is called Middle School. Excerpt from the Hallmaster's Guide. 4 young adventurers stood at the entrance of an ancient temple carved into the cliffside. The weathered stone portico resembled the yawning maw of some huge predator. Beyond it, a stairway led down into blackness. "Gee, I wonder if this is the place," said Divis, the thief.
"Ah, of course it is, tiny friend,"
said Thromdur, the barbarian, cuffing Divis on the back.
"The gate to the Temple of Azathor is known to have the shape of a great and toothy beast, like so."
"Yeah, no, this is obviously the evil temple. I was being witty," said Divis. "Sometimes I feel like nobody in this adventuring party gets me." "You can explain the joke at length later, and I'm sure we'll all laugh and laugh," said Vila the Valiant, paladin and leader of the group. "But first, the evil that lies beyond that gate must be vanquished." She drew her long sword and pointed it skyward, perhaps holding the hero pose a moment too long. "You know, my old party had a bard," said Divis. "That guy loved my one-liners, and he was a professional entertainer, so he knew real talent." "Companions, are we prepared?" said Vila, sheathing her blade and cutting him off. "Rope, rations, ammunition for ranged weapons? Thromdur, you were injured in the bandit ambush. You should drink a healing potion."
"Feels but a scratch,"
said Thromdur, indicating the gaping wound across his back. "Drink one," said Vila. Thromdur did. His wound instantly closed. "Oh, and we must make sure to bring enough extra torches for this dungeon," said Vila. "Can't ever have too many torches." Beside her, a shadowy elf in a black cloak seemed to melt out of the underbrush. "No need," said Sorrowshade the assassin. "The inky darkness is a gloom elf's home. I have night vision." "Yes, and that's very well and good for you," said Vila, "but the rest of us are humans. We can't see in the dark." "Yeah, well, I'm not carrying any torches," said Sorrowshade, crossing her arms. If Sorrowshade doesn't have to carry torches, then I'm not doing it either," said Divis. "Again," said Vila with a sigh, "we won't be able to see." "Not my problem that mortals have such poor eyesight," said Sorrowshade. "Our eyesight is normal," said Vila. "You just happen to have really good eyesight. Do you see the distinction?" "He's right, though. Torches are lame," said Divis. "Man, if Albiorix was here, he would just cast a light spell." Zoop. Sorrowshade gave a faraway look. "If only such a spell could brighten the darkness of my soul." She turned away and dramatically threw up the cowl of her cloak. "Oh, said Vila. "Well, regardless, Albiorix isn't here. He's training with the Archmage today. So with regard to subterranean illumination, we'll just have to make do without him." "Look, Thromdur is the strongest, right?" said Divis.
"There can be no doubt,"
said Thromdur. So how about the big guy just carries a bunch of torches in case we need them, said Beavis.
Ah, I am no simple torch boy, said Thromdur. I am a berserker of Sky Bear clan.
Fine, fine, said Vila. I'll carry the extra torches. I swore a sacred oath. It is a paladin's duty to shoulder the burden when the weak falter.
Weak? Weak? Said Thromdur. Give me all the torches. Their puny weight is nothing to me. Pile them on my back, strap them to my meaty haunches. The more torches, the better.
Great idea, big guy, said Beavis. Glad you thought of it. Into darkness, then, said Sorrowshade. And so the four adventurers delved deep into the lost temple of Azathor, facing abundant perils along the way. They defeated a bloodthirsty band of goblins, disarmed a fiendishly clever poison dart trap, and discerned the answer to an ancient riddle that opened a magical door. The answer was love. Many extra torches were burned as they made their way to the heart of the vile temple, far beneath the surface world. There they came to the grand hall of fallen columns and piled bones. Sickly green light lit the way ahead. The party doused their flames. Look, whispered Sorrowshade. On a crumbling altar, a skeleton in tattered robes crouched over a glowing sigil and muttered incantations from a large leather-bound tome. Unless I am mistaken, that is the warlock, Zazirak, back from the dead, said Vila. In life they called him the Scourge of Tashin, the Blight of Shield Coast, and the Slayer of Hotus the Good. Now he's a skeleton guy, said Beavis, drawing his dagger, which is even worse. We need a strategy, said Vila. Sorrowshade, you hide behind the fourth column to the right and hit him with a barrage of poisoned arrows, while I approach from the southwest, flanking him as I brandish my holy symbol. This should give Beavis enough time to creep up from behind for a sneak attack, while Thromdur—
I will crush you, bone face,
bellowed Thromdur as he sprang over a pile of rubble and charged at Zazirak, swinging his warhammer. Oh yeah, we could just do that, said Sorrowshade. Stupid skin bags, hissed Zazirak as he turned. You dare interrupt the summoning ritual of Azathor the Devourer? We dare indeed, foul wight, said Vila, drawing her sword. Then I am happy to offer 4 heroes as a blood sacrifice to the great mole-headed demon himself, said Zazirak. Arise, my minions! Alako Nav Navavak! With a flash of green light, the pile of bones around the room shuddered and leapt to their feet. They were now animate skeletal warriors, clad in rotting armor, carrying broken weapons. Excuse me, did you say mole-headed demon? As in, lives in the ground and eats earthworms, said Sorrowshade as she popped out from behind the fifth column to the left and zwip, deftly lodged an arrow in Zazirak's skull. Zazirak staggered and gave a hollow laugh. Ha! Don't you know I'm immune to poison damage? He yanked the arrow out of his head. And yes, according to the Malanomicon, Azathor the Devourer shall take the form of a great and terrible beast with the face of a fearsome mole. That's kind of dumb, isn't it? Said Beavis. He ducked a blow from a rusty axe of a skeletal warrior. Doesn't sound scary. It is too scary, said Zazirak. He hurled a green bolt of eldritch magic at Vila, who blocked it with her shield. Your ignorance astounds. How could you not know Azathor has a mole head? What did you think the entrance of this temple was carved to look like?
I thought it was a dog,
screamed Thromdur as he bashed one of the skeletal warriors to bits with his hammer.
or perhaps a badger.
With a flying leap, he tackled two more off their bony feet. "Idiots!" cried Zazirak. "It is the visage of Azathoth, the Devourer, a demon of untold power, who will consume this world at my command." "Not if I can help it," said Vila, holding out the gleaming sun-shaped emblem. "By all that is good and righteous, I call upon the powers of light and rebuke you, fiend." Zazirak hissed and turned away. His shambling skeletal minions staggered and crumbled back to bones.
"And I also rebuke you," said Thromdur, "with my big hammer."
The barbarian leapt forward and smashed the undead warlock. Zazirak flew across the room, hit a wall, and crumpled to the floor. There was an instant of silence. Then Zazirak cackled. "Fools! Death means nothing to one such as I. With the Malanomicon, I cannot be defeated." You mean this?" said Divis. He held up the warlock's spellbook. Somehow, in the chaos of the fight, the thief had nabbed it. "Give the book to me," said Zazirak, rising. His bony hands began to glow with arcane flame. "Or you shall." "Burn?" said Sorrowshade as she stepped out from behind a scary mole statue and held a lit torch to the edge of Zazirak's robe. With a whoosh, the undead warlock went up like dry kindling. "Okay, fine. Maybe torches were a good idea," said Sorrowshade. "Ugh," said Divis, burying his face in his sleeve. "That burned warlock smell is pungent."
"Another foe bested, another dungeon delved. Victory is ours," said Thromdur. "Where's the treasure?"
"Rest in peace, Hotus the Good," said Vila, bowing her head. "At long last your death has been avenged." "Oh, man, he only had 35 gold pieces," said Divis, as he rifled through Zazirak's charred remains. "Plus what looks like a ring of turtle speech. Anyone want a ring of turtle speech? Lets you talk to turtles." The other adventurers shook their heads. "Man, why did he even have that?" said Divis, who pocketed the ring. "Guess I could try to sell it. Maybe somebody will want it." "Good luck with that," said Sorrowshade. "I suppose we should destroy his spellbook too," said Vila. "It seems pretty evil." With 2 fingers, she picked up the tome that Zazirak had called the Malanomicon and dropped it into her pack. "I thought this temple was supposed to be stacked with untold riches," said Sorrowshade, looking around. "That troll lied to us. Typical." "Now, that's just prejudice to Sorrowshade," said Vila. "Besides, we don't do this for treasure. I mean, we did stop an undead warlock from summoning an ancient demon to destroy the world." "Yeah, what's so great about the world?" said Sorrowshade.
"Treasureless dungeons are very frustrating to me," said Thromdur. "They intensify the empty feeling I get when a quest is done. Does anyone else have this feeling?"
The other adventurers shook their heads.
"Well, I for one hope we get ambushed by murderous bandits again on the way back to town," said Thromdur, "to enliven our spirits."
"Then let us return to Pighaven," said Vila. She started to turn. "Hang on just a minute, folks," said Divis. "What have we here?" The thief had been quietly chipping away at the wall behind the altar with his dagger. Long ago, plaster had been cunningly spread over the mortar to conceal a seam. What he had uncovered was a distinctly door-shaped outline.
"It is a secret door," said Thromdur. "How can you not see it, tiny friend?"
"My question was rhetorical," said Divis. The thief slipped his fingers into the crack and felt around for a moment. Then he smiled. There was a click and then a low rumble as the door slid aside. Beyond it lay a vault that somehow seemed far older than the rest of the temple. It was piled high with gold, silver, gemstones, and bejeweled weapons of impeccable craftsmanship. The adventurer's eyes grew wide. Some of the heroes may have even started to salivate.
I want the battle axe,
Said Thromdour. That ruby is mine, said Divis.
Dibs on that shield,
Said Vila. I thought we didn't do it for the treasure, said Sorrowshade. Before you go putting your greasy mitts on any of that loot, we might want to figure out what this says first. She pointed to a series of jagged runes that were carved onto the door jamb. Looks like old Dragonian, said Vila. Can anyone read it?
I speak orc,
Said Thromdour. I've got Elvish and Shadowese, said Sorrowshade. It's probably not important, said Divis. Anyway, I think we're going to need some hirelings to clear this place out. That gilded throne has got to be worth a fortune. Luckily, I know a guy who flips thrones. Divis, those runes almost certainly describe a terrible curse of some sort, said Vila. You don't know that, said Divis. You could say, great job, or enjoy the free treasure. Nobody touched anything inside the vault, said Vila. Thromdour shook his head.
The empty feeling grows.
This dungeon is the worst, said Sorrowshade, pulling up her cowl. Can we vote, said Divis. How about we vote? I vote in favor of us being rich. And anyway, what's so bad about being cursed? We've all been cursed before. Sorrowshade, remember when that evil shaman turned you into a porcupine? We laugh about that now. I don't laugh about that, said Sorrowshade, or anything. I'll tell you what, Divis. I think Albiorix can read Old Dragonian, said Vila. Perhaps he can translate the runes. If by some small chance it turns out not to be a curse, we can return to claim the treasure. She unfurled a blank scroll and made a quick rubbing of the inscription with charcoal. Then this whole place will be cleared out by goblins, said Divis. Can I at least take a ruby? It's just me getting cursed. I don't mind. No, said Vila.
There are always more dungeons, tiny friend,
said Thromdour.
Come, let us away.
And so the four brave adventurers left the lost temple of Azathor and began their journey home, though Divis the thief did lag behind the others. Albiorix arrived at the Wyvern's Wrist Tavern, the only inn in the tiny hamlet of Pighaven. He was tired and sweaty from carrying a heavy satchel of books for several miles. If Albiorix had been a more powerful wizard, he could have cast a levitation spell on his bag to ease his burden, or perhaps even teleported himself right to the doorstep of the inn, appearing in a puff of impressively colored magical smoke. But the mystical arts take decades to master, and at age 13, Albiorix was still a mere apprentice to the archmage Valaxis. While his friends had gone off to explore the lost temple of Azathor, Valaxis had made him practice the ward of protection spell over and over again on a sack of grain until his magicking hand hurt. As Albiorix stepped inside, he saw the owner of the Wyvern's Wrist standing by the bar, polishing flagons. Well, hi, said Albiorix with an awkward bow. She gave him a tight nod. I cleared out the back room for you, lad. As always, your wee friends can stay as long as you're paying for snacks. Excellent, said Albiorix, perusing the menu. They should be here any minute. So how about a large bowl of honey-roasted mallow nuts, 2 orders of sour cream and onion limbas, and a trencher of cheese dip? Albiorix plunked down a few silver pieces, and the innkeeper pocketed the coins. As he crossed the inn's common room, a mysterious stranger with an eye patch beckoned him over. Hello there. You have a brave and hardy look about you, lad. Be you an adventurer? Oh, well, that's very flattering about my look, said Albiorix, trying to politely head him off. Indeed, I am an adventurer, but right now recently I've come into possession of an ancient map, said the one-eyed man, glancing around the tavern for spies. A map that shows the precise location of the caves of Thunderbeard. For a cut of the coin, I could show you the way. Caves of Thunderbeard. Wow, that sounds very, very exciting, said Albiorix. But I really can't take on any quests at this moment. You see, it's homerooms and hall passes night. Said the one-eyed man with a scowl. Can I play? The group is actually all full at the moment, said Albiorix. But I can let you know if we ever have an opening. The one-eyed man spat on the floor. Sorry, said Albiorix as he ducked past a dwarven princess, hoping to hire a party to restore her to her rightful throne. Maybe the town guard can help, he said to a simple farmer who needed help investigating the peculiar exsanguination of several of his pigs. Just as Albiorix entered the private back room, a travel-worn merchant burst into the tavern.
My caravan was attacked by ogres, cried the merchant. I'd offer a pretty reward to any brave souls who could recover my shipment of rare salves and ointments from the east.
Not today, said Albiorix under his breath as he quietly closed the door behind him. He stood in a small room with 4 chairs and a table. The group had a standing reservation at the Wyvern's Wrist. Every Thursday from 7 to 10, Albiorix plopped his satchel on the chair and breathed a sigh of relief. Homerooms and hall passes night was his favorite night of the week. Albiorix began to carefully unpack his gaming supplies. An intricately detailed map of J.A. Dewar Middle School, dozens of miniatures, lovingly painted to look like students and teachers, a hallmaster's screen that blocked his secret notes from the prying eyes of players, and of course, a multicolored mountain of dice. Though none knew who had created it, Homerooms and Hall Passes was an enormously popular game in the realm of Brandalore. Some played the game to win, though that wasn't really the point. Others saw it as a chance to socialize with friends while eating piles of unhealthy snacks. Many enjoyed playing an H&H character who was vastly different from themselves, while just as many opted to play ones who represented themselves exactly. The basic appeal of the game was that it allowed the players to inhabit, if only in their collective imagination, a strange fantasy world that bore only a passing resemblance to reality. Though personally, Albiorix played to relax. Quests were great, really they were, and perhaps tomorrow he and the party would take that one-eyed man up on his map. Or maybe they'd help the dwarven princess. The pig examinations seemed a little beneath them. But they could probably knock that one out in an afternoon, so why not? Thwarting evil, righting wrongs, closing infernal gates opened by demented cultists. It was very important work, but it was also stressful. Albiorix sometimes woke up in a cold sweat, thinking he'd been smashed to goo by a hill giant, incinerated by a dragon, or even taken deathly ill from a run-of-the-mill giant rat bite. Despite the fact that he was training to become a wizard, he secretly wondered if he was really cut out for the hero's life. His friends all seemed to thrive on nearly being killed on a daily basis. If Albiorix was being honest, deep down he craved order, predictability, and safety. That might make him a mediocre adventurer, but it made him a perfect hallmaster. In homerooms and hall passes, the players embodied middle school students, but the hallmaster was in charge of basically everything else. It was Albiorix's job to plan ahead, set the scene, arbitrate the rules, and most important, make sure everyone was having fun. He'd spend hours every week drawing up maps, planning out challenges, and poring over the countless H&H source books that filled his satchel. The module he was currently running was called the Semester of Stultification. In tonight's game, the players would face a daunting series of challenges, a grueling 5-paragraph essay dumped on their characters right at the beginning of JADMS Spirit Week. Not to mention an upcoming earth sciences quiz, a concert band recital, a class election, and a big algebra test. To rise to these challenges would take skill, cunning, impeccable time management, and of course a few lucky rolls of the dice. Albiorix chuckled maniacally to himself. Just then, Vila, Thromdur, Sorrowshade, and Divus burst through the door, talking loudly amongst themselves. And that's why I'll never wear a baldric again, said Divus. Makes sense, said Vila.
Hail, sorceress friend, Albiorix,
said Thromdur, giving Albiorix a warm and painful hug.
I cannot wait for our game to begin.
Glad you're excited, said Albiorix. How was the dungeon? Don't even ask, said Sorrowshade, shaking her head. We defeated the evil warlock, Zazirak, said Vila. Nice, said Albiorix.
But the treasure was cursed, said Thromdur.
No, it wasn't, said Divus. How was your day, magic man? Said Albiorix. Just spent it trapped in a floating tower getting yelled at by a 700-year-old woman for not being able to bless rain fast enough. Take heart, Albiorix, said Vila. I thought I would be a squire forever, but then at the age of 12 I was chosen by the Knights of the Golden Sun to become the youngest paladin in history, and it was all thanks to my extraordinary talent and dedication. Uh-huh, said Albiorix. My point is, your apprenticeship will be over before you know it, said Vila. Sure, it ends when I'm 18. Only 5 more years, said Albiorix, putting his forehead gently into his palms. I bet the time will just fly. Wow, the Archmaid Vilaxis is 700, said Sorrowshade, grabbing a handful of Malorn nuts. I can't imagine being that old. If I ever make it to 500, somebody shoot me with a crossbow.
We will all be long dead by then, elf, said Thromdur,
dipping a Limbos wafer in cheese. Oh, right. Humans, said Sorrowshade. Sorry. So, are you guys ready to begin? Said Albiorix as he passed out the character sheets.
Douglas, the 8th level nerd is ready, said Thromdur, pounding the table, eager to use his superior intellect to crush the subject of earth sciences.
Glad to hear it, said Albiorix with a grin. Since Valerie is an 8th level overachiever now, does that mean her intelligence attribute rating goes up? Said Vila. Yeah, it should increase by 1, said Albiorix, who didn't even have to consult the Hallmaster's guide. Plus you gain the skill standardized testing. Excellent, said Vila, making a note on her character sheet. I notice you still haven't picked a name for your character yet, Divus, said Albiorix. What? Stinky is a fantastic name, said Divus, who was making a little tower out of his dice. Look, I know it's just a silly game, but I wish you'd take it a little more seriously, said Albiorix. Could you at least fill in something for the background info section? Fine. Both of Stinky's parents are also called Stinky, and they're professional soup tasters, said Divus, scribbling it down. Happy now? Not really, said Albiorix. And last but not least, we have Melissa the Loner. He handed Sorrowshade her character sheet. Thanks, said Sorrowshade quietly. Normally, Sorrowshade was always ready with a sarcastic retort, but she was almost shy when playing homerooms and hall passes. Albiorix often wondered if she was having fun at all, but still she showed up every week, so she must be getting something out of the game. Albiorix cleared his throat. His companions fell silent. Showtime. When last we left off, said Albiorix, projecting his voice, the students of J.A.D.R. Middle School were preparing for Spirit Week, a traditional festival when the children of suburbia honor their schools with strange costumes and ritualistic displays of pride. It is a sunny October morning. You're all sitting in first period English class, taught by Miss Chapman, who is also your homeroom teacher. She begins to expound upon the subject of persuasive writing.
Douglas the nerd pays close attention to the lesson, said Thromdur. He is very eager to master the subject of English and use this knowledge to conquer his academic rivals.
Albiorix checked his notes. Well, Douglas is currently averaging an A+ in English, the best in the class.
None can defeat Douglas,
said Thromdur, pounding the table and knocking over a couple of miniatures. Can I ask, what is Miss Chapman wearing? Said Vila. Albiorix rolled a handful of dice, noted the results, and consulted the Hallmaster's Guide. Table 44F, Teacher's Apparel. Today, Miss Chapman is wearing a tweed blazer and a seasonal turtleneck. Valerie would like to wait for an appropriate break in the lesson and compliment Miss Chapman on her blazer, said Vila. Give me an apple polishing skill check, said Albiorix. Vila rolled her dice and consulted her character sheet. I got 22, she said. Success. Miss Chapman beams. Why, thank you for noticing, Valerie. I bought it at the Coat Ranch on Bowman Avenue. They were having a Columbus Day sale, said Albiorix, doing his trademark Miss Chapman voice. That successful faculty compliment will earn Valerie a +3 bonus on the next English assignment. Huzzah, said Vila. Sarashade, is there anything you would like Melissa to do? Said Albiorix. I don't know, said Sarashade. Just sit there quietly, I guess. Okay, said Albiorix. Sounds good. No roll needed for that. While all this flattery is going on, Stinky is going to pass a note to one of the other kids, said Beavis. Which one? Said Albiorix, indicating several miniatures placed on the map. You can easily reach the 4 adjacent desks. Lucy Bennett, Dave Pittman, Deanna Fernandez, and Sherrod Marla. How about Dave Pittman? Said Beavis. Sure, said Albiorix. What does the note say? Haven't thought that far ahead, said Beavis. The note says, I think Deanna likes you.
But that is not true, said Thromdur. It is known throughout all of JADR Middle School that Deanna Fernandez has a crush on Brent Sadolsky.
Yeah, I know that, said Beavis. You dishonorable Stinky, said Vila, shaking her head. Stinky does what Stinky wants, said Beavis. Roll a note passing skill check, said Albiorix. Beavis did. Ugh, he said. Got a 1. The note slips from your fingers and catches Mrs. Chapman's eagle eye, said Albiorix. Stinky, she yells. You bring that note up to the front of the class right now. And so an amiable game of homerooms and hall passes passed in this way as the brave heroes pretended to be middle schoolers and laughed and ate snacks and occasionally argued over the rules for longer than was necessary until a bathroom break was called. So I'm going to stop there. That was part of the first chapter of Homerooms and Hall Passes by Tom O'Donnell. We have this book and the sequel here at the Dubuque County Library. So if you're interested in seeing what happens, you can stop by and check it out. Thanks so much for listening today. Bye.